Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Saturday morning practice. Can I have a sound check? Someone on Insight Timer, tell me if you can hear me right. There's some audio problem this morning. I had to make some adjustment. Does the audio come through on Insight Timer, particularly? Thank you. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so we'll be spending the next hour and a half together on what we call a Qi practice, sometimes called Qigong practice. Actually, I was listening to a YouTube video yesterday. A Chinese traditional Chinese medicine doctor, a woman, elderly woman, who's also a Qigong practitioner and Tai Chi as well. And she mentioned how the word Qigong actually is very recent, which is what I remember. That it actually started at the late 50s, around the time that I was born. And as you know, 1949 is when the communists took over mainland China. And one of the first things they did was that they eliminated all of the religion, including Buddhism and Taoism. So all the places where they were practicing this type of Qi practice is all but eliminated. And so, unfortunately, by the end of the 1950s, early 1960s, there was a big, great famine, in a way, a man-made famine in China. And so, as they were recovering from the famine, they discovered that they didn't really have any resources. They didn't have any food. They didn't have any medicine. There were basically nothing, and they were quite isolated from the rest of the world. So they weren't getting any help. So they decided that they need to resurrect this 1,000-year-old traditional practice for restoring the health of the population. And so they went in and then they to the people, when they gather all the people who practice this Qi practice, and they name it Qi Gong. Gong just means the practice of Qi. Now, keep in mind that in a communist autocratic country, the one thing that you're not allowed to have is the freedom of the mind. And so they basically truncated the practice to focus on Qi. Qi is energy, and with the idea that the body is just not a bunch of mechanical parts. There is an energy system that connects them all, and that's all they do. It's just the Qi and the body. But the traditional Chinese practice involves the mind. And so our existence is not just the Qi and the body, but the body, the Qi, and the mind, with the Qi, the energy, being the bridge between the mind and the body. So what we do here ultimately is really providing harmony to the body, and then ultimately harmony to the mind. So it's a little bit more towards a tradition practice. And then this teacher, she also said that when they collected these techniques from the people, they realized that there were like 80,000 of them, 80,000 different ways of promoting energy in the system. Because each family might have it, each clan might have it. It's as much as it's a secret technique in the clans to maintain physical health, right? And so you would find in the history of China, there is like a family for hundreds of generations that remained the governing body of the country, and the people there usually are very, very capable. And there's all kinds of reasons, but one of that is that they have an exercise that they pass. And so you cannot just say Qigong, this is Qigong, that's not Qigong, and this is Qigong, and that's not Qigong. You cannot really say that. Qigong is just a practice of Qi, recognizing that your body consists of all these mechanical parts as well as an energy system, a communication system that connects them all. But what we do here is beyond that. It's going back to the tradition, which is that Qi is just a bridge. It's a bridge between your body and your mind. Okay? All right. So our Qi practice here alternate from week to week. And so this week is a very energetic exercise that we do towards the end that was passed down by Bodhidhama, a North Indian yogi that visited China and brought meditation technique. Right? And so he's known also as the first patriarch of the Zen meditation, as well as the originator of the Shaolin martial art. Right? He's pretty well known. And last week, we were doing the breathing exercise, one of the important branches of the yoga practice. Yoga practice typically involves the body. That's what we do in North America, asana or hatha yoga. And but it's more than that. There's actually the practice of the body, the practice of the breath, and then eventually becomes the practice of qi, and then the practice of the mind, and the practice of the individual, your things that you do to kind of maintain your integrity, and then things that you practice in a group, and then that's the foundation, and then ultimately it goes into Zen and Samadhi, right? All right. So, but I also said last week that if you want to think about how we alternate between the two practice, if you want to think of it from a mathematical standpoint or engineering standpoint, one is necessary and one is sufficient. Now, what does that mean? That means that if you want to have good health, then you got to go back to the way how our life was developed. When we were inside our mother's womb, we were basically living within this balance of yin and yang. The yang energy is the life energy, is the energy that actually provides life. But the yin energy is the energy that the mother provides, which is a very nourishing, nurturing, restorative energy. And it was the balance of those two that make us viable, right, inside the mother's womb. And we do that by knowing how to use that one muscle that we have, which is the diaphragm. And so the minute that we were born, that was the only muscle that we have. And that was how we breathe. We actually breathe with the diaphragm. Now, as we go old, as we mature, we get more stress. That diaphragm become more difficult, and we start to breathe with the upper part of the body. The lung has no muscle, right? And so one of the things that we want to do, the necessary condition, the most important thing you can do, the need to do, is to go back to creating that balance, that harmony between your autonomous system, the fight or flight, which is what we call yang, the influence of the sun. When you're outside the cave, you're in fight or flight mode. And the rest and digest, which is the restorative mode, the parasympathetic mode, which is what you do when you're inside the comfort of the cave, right? So the very important condition for help improving your health span, not just your lifespan, is to go back to that abdominal breathing technique, which we did last week. That is the necessary condition. Now, what we do today is what I would call, as an engineering professor once upon a time, is called the sufficient condition. That is, if you already restore or in the process of restoring the harmony, now what you want to do is to improve your yang energy, your energetic energy. And your yang energy is what gives you immunity, what gives you self-healing power. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. Is that we're working on promoting the life energy in us. Now, to do that, we will need to clear all that energy channel in us. And the Chinese take what the Indians taught them, which is that we have these 74,000 what is called nadis, the channels of the energies within the universe, and they abstract it into 12 according to the sun. 6 of them is what we call yang, 6 of them is what we call yin. 6 of them, yin and yang, originated from one set of extremities, which is the fingers, and then the other 6 originate from another set of extremities, which are the toes. So what we're going to do is we're going to massage, we're going to tap, we're going to do some acupressure, we're going to do some scraping, and the only thing that we don't do is we don't do acupuncture, all right? No needles, no sharp objects. And so what the whole purpose of that is to improve the flow of the energy, clearing the channels. Okay, it's a very different approach to Our health, both physical and mental health, is a very different approach to improving the quality of life as we age, is that we don't see our body as just a collection of individual parts, except instead we see it as a energy system. Okay? It's the same way that you would look at an orchestra. Do you see an orchestra as just a bunch of instruments playing according to a sheet of paper? Or do you see it as more of a harmonious system, each one helping each other, each one working with another? Okay? All right, that's the difference. All right, so we're going to work from one set of extremities, which are the fingers, to another set of extremities, which are the toes. All right, it's going to be a full body therapy. And we're going to work from the top of the head where all the yang energy comes together. And then we're going to go from the top of the head to the bottom of the feet. It's a very, very full 1.5 hour therapy that we do once a week, with the idea that the rest of the time you would do that on your own. Maybe not the whole thing, but whatever you can remember, pieces of it. Okay? All right. So we're going to start with the left hand. Take a look at the fingers. Take a look at the joints. Take a look at the inside, which is away from the sun, and the outside, which is again towards the sun. We're going to start with the inside of the hand. We're going to take our right thumb, and we're going to just very gently massage the fingertips. Now, the fingertips are the exchange points for the yin and the yang. And we're going to do that one finger at a time. Now, it's very important that you remember that we don't just practice for the health of our body, but we also practice for the health of our mind. And so right now, we're actually doing mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness just means anchoring your mind on your body when you move, anchoring your mind on your breath when you are stationary. So right now, we are massaging the joints. So I want you to take one finger at a time, one joint at a time, massage on the left, on the center, on the right, and come back to the middle. And once you finish one joint, I want you to leave that joint, move to the next one. Okay? Always living in the present. And that is actually the most important building block for your mental health, is to understand that there is no such thing as multitasking. Your mind, your brain is not capable of multitasking. It can only do one thing at a time. All right? One thing at a time. No multitask. So monotask. Focus on your fingers, focus on your joints, observe the change in your body. Am I generating some heat, some sweat, some pain, some numbness, whatever? Okay, now we're going to move from the left hand to the right hand, one joint at a time. Now, many of you students on my age, I'm 70 in a month or two, and we have this thing called arthritis. Okay, arthritis is just inflammation, and it's just part of the big picture here. And longevity basically means that you reduce inflammation. I'm not talking about acute inflammation. I'm not talking about when you sprain your ankle and then you have to treat it. I'm talking about chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation. Okay. Now we finished working on the inside of the hand, so we're going to flip it over, and we're going to work on the outside, the part that is facing the sun. And this time we're also going to start with a fingertip, but we're going to take a thumb and an index finger and put it around the corner of the fingernail, and just kind of gently squeeze it, one finger at a time. So by working on the fingers, you're improving the circulation, you're reducing inflammation uh, on the fingers, right? So if you have arthritis, it's very painful, and this one will help, all right? But it also helps with the rest of the body because, again, it's an energy system. So when you unblock one part, you unblock the rest of it, right? So now we're going to work on the joints again, very, very mindfully, focusing our mind on our fingers, feeling the difference, the change in the body, any heat, sweat, numbness, and one finger, one joint at a time. Now we're going to move from the right hand to the left hand. Okay, so I want you to think about this as a therapy session. Right? I don't want you to rush it. I don't want you to think, okay, we're going to work from the fingers to the toes. Come on, let's go, let's go. Slow it down. Just slow it down. Okay, now we're done with the fingertip, we're done with the joints, we're done with the inside and the outside. I want to come back to the fingers once again, and now take your thumb and just kind of rub it from the inside all the way to the tip. in between the joints, just kind of, okay? And then now the other part, on the inside to the outside. And now I want you to do the same thing on the back, just kind of massage the finger, the entire length of the fingers from the inside to the outside. And similarly on the other hand. If you ask questions and I don't answer, it's either I don't have time or somehow I feel like I can't answer it um, um, thoroughly anyway. So I want to encourage you to join our group, the Insight Timer group, and ask that question there again, or just send me a text message somehow. Okay, so now I want you to do one more thing that we haven't done in a while, which is to grab each of the fingers and just kind of pull on it from the inside to the outside. Okay, now we're going with the right hand. Let's do the left hand. Okay, now we're going to massage the back of the hand, focusing on the back of the hand, which is where we would promote yang energy. The actual energy of life is the yang energy. And there's a saying in the Chinese that when someone die, it's because the yang energy is all gone. No more life. Okay. Now, the way to do that is that you open up each of the fingers and you take your thumb using the edge of the thumb and just massage in between the fingers. Okay, now we come back to the thumb in a minute, just basically working on the four fingers right now. And then now I want you to hold your hand and kind of use the edge of the thumb and just kind of massage in between the knuckles. Again, focusing on the four fingers right now. Okay, and then now I want you to hold your fist gently and then notice that the fingers are individual. There's a channel in between the fingers. And then I want you to just kind of massage that and massage that. Okay, now you know this helps if you have arthritis, right? If you have arthritis, this relieves a lot of pain. Now there's one energy point, it's called the pan of yang. There are a lot of energy points that are called pan. Pan just means that this is the place where all the energy gathers together, right? It's where the life is, the fish and everything. So there's a pan of yang, and I want you to learn how to do some acupressure here. And if you the benefit of this, because there are a couple of benefits. One is that it's the source of yang energy, so you don't feel as cold. So when you go to bed, your feet is like icy cold. That's because you don't have enough yang energy. Yang energy means circulation. You just don't have enough circulation in your body. The other one is that you get tired very easily. Climbing a flight of stairs, you just like tired. And then finally, it turns out that this point is also very important if you have diabetes. All right. So how do you find that point? It's very simple. You take your middle fingers and index fingers. You follow this channel. You get to the top of the wrist. Just leave your finger there and just kind of rotate your wrist. And then there's a dimple. Just put your thumb on that and just push down. And then same thing on the other side. Take the middle fingers, the index fingers, glide your thumb along that. When you get to the top of the wrist, rotate your wrist around until you find that dimple, right? And then you just press down. So this is called the pan of yang. Okay. All right. So now we're going to come back to the thumb. We want to work on the thumb. But right next to the thumb is the index finger. And the index finger is where the large intestine meridian starts. Okay, so one of the things that happens to us as we age is constipation. Constipation has a lot of reasons, right? Your digestive health and also lack of qi is another reason. And so one of the things that I want to kind of focus on with my elder students is show them how to massage the large intestine meridians, especially the part between your knuckle and the fingertips. So at first, I want you to massage the corner of the fingertips again, the index finger now. Now I want you to hold your fist and there's a dimple right underneath the knuckle. I want you to do some acupressure here. And then I want you to rub that side of the index finger from the inside towards the outside and just kind of massage that. Okay, now the other side, same thing. First, the corner of the index finger, and then hold your fist, and then just right below the knuckle, there's a dimple, and then just glide along the index finger. So you might say, well, I don't have any problem with um, what do you call that? Okay. All right. So this is what I recommend you do is a large index. Now we will come back to the thumb. Okay. Now we massage the thumb. The thumb is the most important digit, right? If you don't have the use of the thumb, the rest of the fingers doesn't work that well, right? Or at all. Now I want you to look at your thumb and just imagine that this is a small drumstick, and there's a part of the drumsticks where there's like you can kind of take your thumb and your index finger, form a pincher, and then just kind of pinch it like this. And then same thing on the other side. Massage the thumb and then pinch. And then take the knuckle and just kind of drill into this energy point and then drill. This is part of the lung meridian. You notice that they pair the lung with the large intestine. So on one side, the lung is not just taking oxygen in, it's actually responsible for distributing the nutrients to our body. And then the large intestine is the opposite of that, is what removes the toxin. So one is in and one is out. All right. Okay, so now this is the lung meridian, and then this is the heart meridian. They actually separate the heart into what's called the heart, which is the same word as mind, and then what's called the pericardium, which is the outside part of the heart. So that is actually the heart, right? It's the heart. The inside of the heart is hollow, and so right in the middle is the energy point that is capable. There's only one that is capable of creating energy, right? Delivering energy. So that's why we call the hand the healing hand. So I want you to form a knuckle and just kind of. So one of the things I wanted to show you is some of the things that you can do to promote your self-healing. And you can do that by just rubbing your hand, right? So if you need to massage someone, give someone a massage, you first rub your hand together to generate some positive energy. Now you take your right hand, you put that on top of the left hand, so the center of the palm is touching the back of the hand, and then you squeeze the fingers together and just kind of massage. And then same thing on the other side. Okay, so that was a good question. Lucila says, is there any part of the routine that if we're short on time that we can do? Because we're not going to be able to do an hour and a half every day. Okay, so I'll go back to this teacher who is a traditional Chinese medicine doctor and also a Qigong practitioner as well as a Tai Chi practitioner. And so she talks about how Qigong is just a word that they use to collect all the remaining technique after they have destroyed the temples and the shrine and perhaps kill off all the monks and the priests. And they realize that the place where they practice this internal energy, they're no longer here. So they had to go back to the people, and they collected all, and they said, oh, there are 80,000 of them. Wow. And so they started to work on that. And so the person who interviewed her and says, so what is that one thing that we can do that would enhance your chi? And she said, how you sit. So I'm going to answer the question in parts by just kind of, as I remember, I would talk about it. But one of the things you can do is to learn how to sit, because your spine, right? So we talk about the 12 meridians, 6 in the hand, 6 in the originated from the fingers, 6 originated from the toes, both inside and outside, yin and yang. But they all come together, and there are actually 8 primary channels. Only 2 of them we know well. And one is actually your spine. That's called the governing vessel, is where all your yang energies are collected and rise within you. And so if you can know how to sit, then That is the most important you can do. Now, most people would say, sit up straight, stretch your spine. Well, actually, a proper sitting technique do involve sitting up straight, but the purpose is not just to stretch your spine and hold it. You can actually hurt yourself that way if you do that for a long time. But let me show you how to sit properly, and that would enhance your chi. And this is actually something that you can do. You can remind yourself whenever you're under a lot of stress, you just want to relax, then this is the one thing you can do. So first, I want you to kind of sit. If you sit on the chair, if you sit on the chair in the office or at home, or maybe some of you prefer to sit on the chair, some of my students actually sit in the wheelchair, and I want you to sit with your butt and not with your thigh. What does that mean? So if you sit on your chair, don't sit like this, because now you're sitting with your butt and your thigh. You sit like this. So you're putting your pressure on your butt, but not on the rest of the body. So anytime you put pressure on your body, you generate what's called fire element, and that actually blocks your chi. And so if you want to just a simple practice or things that you do on a regular basis to relieve your stress, you sit on the edge of your chair. Just put your butt on the edge of the chair, but without using your thigh. Without using your thigh. Then what you do is you don't lean on the back of the chair. So when you go to Japan, Japan still retain a lot of the Chinese culture practices from thousands of years ago. You notice that many of the chairs have no back. And in Chinese, actually, when I grew up, the chairs had no back. It's only after we look at the Westerners and say, oh, they have backs. That's a lot more comfortable. That's actually bad for you. So you don't want to lean on the back of the chair. So you sit on your butt, don't sit on your thigh. And then you focus on the very bottom of your spine, and you stretch your spine very slowly, very mindfully, as if you're stretching your spine. Now, remember now, your spine has around, I forgot whether 23 or 24 joints. Turns out that in between each joint is an energy point. This is the only one thing in all the things that we talk about that actually correspond to our physiology. The rest of it, they haven't even, they couldn't find it because it's not in the muscle, the tendon, the vessel. There's something else. But the spine, there's actually 100% correlation between what we call the governing vessel and a physical body, which is the spine. And in between the joints are the energy points. So you focus on the bottom of the spine and you imagine yourself walking up the spine, focusing on one joint at a time, and you stretch yourself, stretch your spine towards the ceiling as if someone is hanging your spine onto the ceiling, opening up the gap between each of the joints. And as you get up to the top of the head, then you lean back and you lean back and then you relax. Okay, so now what you do is not stretching the spine necessarily, you did that, but it's really putting the weight of your upper torso on your spine and not using the back muscle. So if you don't use the back muscle, you're clearing the channels in the back. And then next thing you want to do is you want to lift up your shoulder. Now, this is one of the exercises that we always do, is part of the Qigong exercise. And then you open your shoulder as far back as you can, and then you relax your shoulder. Next thing you do, you lean back your forehead. Again, you feel that your weight of the head is on top of the spine. You're no longer using the neck muscle. And then finally, you tuck in your chin slightly so the top of the head is on top of your spine. Okay? So this teacher, which I respect a lot, he says, if you don't do anything else, learn how to sit properly. Okay? All right. So, but there are more. All right. So I'll try to remind myself to say, these are the things that I do. Right. This is from my experience. I do this and it helps me. Right. All right. So, all right. So we're done with the fingers, right? Okay. So now we're ready to do some Qigong exercise with the fingers. So again, we sit back, lift up the shoulder. So I usually just combine everything by just saying, lift up your shoulder, right? So that you're stretching your spine and you're lifting up your shoulder at the same time. Lean back, open your shoulder, and then relax. Now, take your hand and close your eye, but focusing on your fingers. And first, we're going to take the thumb and the index fingers, put that together, and we're going to squeeze as hard as we can. Then we're going to take the thumb and the middle fingers, and then we squeeze as hard as we can. And then the thumb and the index fingers, and we squeeze as hard as we can. And then the thumb and the small fingers, and we squeeze as hard as we can. We're going to continue by taking the thumb and put it in the middle of the index finger, and we squeeze. And then the thumb and the middle fingers squeeze. And then the middle of the ring fingers, and we squeeze. And then finally, putting the thumb on the middle of the small fingers, and we squeeze. Now we're going to continue with the second set of finger exercise. This one involving the brain, particularly the left brain and the right brain. There's more and more people now who are focusing on what's going on in between, right? We always have a left brain and the right brain, but what's going on in between? Turns out that in between is a chamber that separate our emotional and rational function, but it's also what provides the balance. It provides the balance. It provides the depth of field. It's actually quite important. And there's increasing understanding that perhaps dementia is not so much protein accumulated in the brain, blocking the neural function, but more like inflammation. And could just be that the left brain and the right brains are not separate anymore and not providing that harmony. And so just looking back, I think it's very true. It's very true. My father suffered from dementia. And the first thing that, when I look back, first thing that I remember now is the loss of balance. Loss of balance, change your personality, that comes first. So left brain, right brain is very important. So let's do that. Let's open up, lean back, relax, close your eye, raise the right hand. Now focus on the fingers. First, we're going to bring the thumb in, then two fingers, now the index, and then the small fingers. That was, we're using the left brain. Now we're going to use the right brain, focusing on the left hand. Thumb, two fingers, index, little fingers. Bring it up, squeeze as hard as we can, and then leave the right thumb, right fist, and open the fingers in reverse order. Again, one at a time. Little fingers, index, two fingers, thumb, left hand. Little fingers, index, two fingers, thumb. Now we stretch the fingers as hard as we can, and then say to ourselves, that was one. Now we're ready for the second time. Thumb, two fingers, index, little fingers. Thumb, two fingers, index, little fingers. And we can squeeze as hard as we can. Open up the right fist, little fingers, thumb, two fingers, thumb. Little fingers, index fingers, two fingers, thumb. And then stretch as hard as we can. Say to ourselves, we're ready for the last time. Thumb, two fingers, index, little fingers. Left hand, thumb, two fingers, index, little fingers. Squeeze as hard as we can. Open up a hand in reverse order. Little fingers, index, two fingers, thumb. Left hand, little fingers, index, two fingers, thumb. And then stretch as hard as we can. Now we're going to put our fist, our palm together and the fingers together, and we're going to push them. Now we're going to lift up the elbow, and then keeping the center of the palm together, we're going to lower our hand, put some pressure on the wrist, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start tapping. And tapping is just setting up vibration to clear the energy channel. So we're going to first stretch our fingers so we can feel the vibration. Now we're going to touch the fingertip. We're going to sit up straight, and we're going to tap as we go. All right. Now count as you go, so our mind is not somewhere else. Get ready? Go. Okay, 30 times. Now we're going to do what's in between the fingers 30 times. Get ready? Go. And now we're going to tap the inside, the two energy points, and we're going to take a palm and form a V. So, and this part against this part, sit up straight, get ready. This is part of the mind, the heart, right? So in fact, there's the whole energy point, whole energy line is important for improving the quality of your sleep. Get ready? Go. And then now the thumb, again, forming a V. Get ready? Go. And then now we're going to go from the yin to the yang. And now this is very interesting. I almost mention this every time, which is how the lung and the large intestines are paired. One is not just breathing, but distributing the nutrients throughout your body. And then the large intestine is the opposite of that, which is to remove the toxins in your body. Notice how the mind or the heart is paired with the small intestine. This is thousand-year-old wisdom that understands how the intestinal health, the probiotic health, is as important as your neurological health, right? So this is all very interesting, right? I actually are quite fascinated with how the human species, in fact, all species evolve. And I think a big part of a problem in the last half century or so with all these modern diseases is kind of irony that on one hand, we have this great progress in Western medicine that actually improves our lifespan, right? Back in the days when I was a child, when someone celebrate their 60th birthday, that was a big deal. When you can live to your 60s, because the average mortality rate age is like 40 back then. That was when I was a child. And now my mom's going to celebrate her 90th birthday, and we just say, oh, we got 10 more at least. So Western medicine have improved our lifespan tremendously, but it hasn't done a damn thing to improve our health span. In fact, it has done the opposite. It actually made us more dependent on medicine to maintain our health alive, but actually in the process destroying our health. We become less and less dependent, more and more dependent as we age, actually. So I think about this, and I think about how did that happen? Well, I think the easiest way to understand it is that we're outpacing our evolution. So I want to go back to how tens of millions of years evolutions and how that made us who we are. And I think I want to go back and I think that's the source of our health span. One I talk about, which is the yin and the yang, right? Even when I was a child, we only had one light bulb in the house. So we live as if we were living in a cave. During the day, when the sun comes up, my father gets on his bicycle, he goes to work. And then when the sun comes down, he comes home. And then we go to sleep. We have no entertainment other than listening to the radio. So that is how we maintain the harmony between our autonomous nerve system, right? When we're outside, when we're under a lot of stress, that's when we are in sympathetic. Then we spend equal time coming back to the comfort of a home, comfort of a cave. That's parasympathetic. Okay, so I talk about that. But the other thing that is in our evolution is in our digestion, right? As our species evolve, we actually have a more and more effective brain. And one of the problems is that we cannot eat fast enough to actually maintain the growth of a brain. And so you will find that all mammals have the same problem. And so what they do is they ask for help. They actually develop the intestine and they use the bacteria in the intestines to digest food so that they can extract more nutrient from the food to feed the brain. That's how our species evolved. So what are we doing now in the last 50 years or so? Well, our food become industrialized. And so we are consuming a lot of preservative. And what does preservative do? Well, they kill germs because that's how you preserve food now. Well, what that happens when you eat that? Well, it kills all the bacteria in your gut. And so that causes a lot of problem. And so maintaining your digestive health, maintaining your intestinal health, eating food that are naturally preserved, which is through fermentation, is very, very important in maintaining your health, right? So just a thought, something that you can read about and start to understand. Now, then you say, oh, I know that, because when I go to Costco now, first thing I see is that they have racks and racks of probiotic. Or they cannot sell bacteria. So even when they say it's probiotic, it's not probiotic, because probiotic means bacteria, and no one can sell bacteria. They can't even have it in the milk. That's why they pasteurize your milk. So what they're selling you is not probiotic, but either prebiotic, meaning that when they actually cultivate those bacteria before they go through the process of killing them, is that there's a lot of nutrients in them. Okay. So instead of buying them in tablet form, you can actually buy it from the food market, right? You can actually buy it but don't buy the stuff that comes in a cardboard box, right? Avocado is amazing. It has all the fibers you need to actually grow your own bacteria. So they're selling you prebiotic, or they're selling you postbiotic after the bacteria has already been killed before they put it in the bottle. You can also do that on your own. So one of the things that I do is I treat my food as my medicine. And the medicine is to promote my probiotic health. And I rely on my own system, right, to maintain that, as opposed to just buying off the shelf. All right? Too much talking? Yeah, I think so. All right. So here comes the part that answering your question, what is that one thing that I do? I cannot tell you, out of the 84,000 techniques, I cannot say which one is better. I can only tell you what I do. And I'm very sensitive to my body. So when I ate, I know there's inflammation, right? And it's just constantly the case. So I'm trying to restore the balance in my body by clearing the channel. And this is one thing that I do, is called scraping. Now, if you don't have something like this, you can buy it, or you can just use a ruler like this, okay? And if it's too sharp, wrap some masking tape around it, right? I think I have one of those. And I have a whole bunch of them that I take to my Sunday class. So we're going to do some scraping. I find that's really, really effective. And I try to do that every night before I go to sleep. And then I get a very good night's sleep. When you scrape, you relieve, you clear the channel. When you clear the channel, you let the chi flow without obstruction. And you do that, you reduce inflammation. And when you reduce inflammation, you reduce pain. And one of the reasons we cannot sleep is because our body is aching, right? That's why a lot of times you take a couple of Advil, and that help you sleep. You don't actually need sleeping medicine. Just Advil would do that because of the pain in your body. So I scrape because I don't like taking medicine. Advil, that kind of medicine is not very good for you, for your kidney. Okay, so now we're going to scrape the inside and the outside. Inside, there's 3 meridians, one in the center, one along the small fingers, and one along the thumb. So we're going to scrape the middle, which is the one that we call pericardium. And we're going to start at right above the elbow. Then we're going to work on the elbow, which has some very important energy points. And then we're going to work along the center of the inside of a hand until we get to the wrist. Now we're going to come back to the elbow and then all the way up to here. That's the pericardium. Now we're going to move up. And when you move up, you see the bone. We're going to move back down on the inside of the bone, starting with the elbow. That's the meridian that we name after the lung, all the way to the wrist. Come back. And then now straighten up your hand and just scrape the bone. And then now we're now outside the bone, and this is called the large intestines. And then the middle is one that we call the triple warmer. And then now along the small fingers. We're going to scrape the back of the hand, the thumb, the fingers, and then again along the small fingers, in the middle, on the outside the bone along the thumb, and then the bone inside of the bone along the thumb, and then in the middle, and then finally this one that helps you sleep, improve the quality of sleep, is along the small fingers and about 4 inches right here, and then scrape all the way to the elbow. Now we're going to do the other side. First, the center, now move up, all the way up to here, now move up. And then the bone, and then outside the bone, and then the center, and then along the small fingers, the back of the hand, and then back along the fingers, and then all the way. And then along the small fingers. All right. Okay, so I just thought about another way to answering the same question, which is what are the things that we can do during the day that doesn't involve hour and a half, especially that not involve me talking. Okay, so I think about this and I said, well, for me, it's a little harder to explain because I do this 7 days a week. 7 days a week. So I don't have any time. I don't have time to do anything else. But then when I thought, oh, I actually travel 3 times a year. And so when I travel to Japan. It's a 13-hour flight. What do I do in that 13 hours, right? What do I do? What do I bring? What do I put in my backpack? So as soon as, before I sit down, I grab it and put it in front of me because I need it. Well, I have my earphone. I have my eye shade because eye is very sensitive to, whenever there's light in your eye, that's your evolution, right? Because you're under the sun, you're in the sympathetic mode, you're in the fight or flight. So if you want to relax, you use eye shade, block the light. So I have that. What else do I have? Oh, I have a small ruler actually. I don't have it here. I have it in my backpack. I have a small ruler that I use to scrape. So when I'm stuck on the plane, first I massage my fingers just like what we do now, all the way around, and then I scrape. Okay, and that actually improves the circulations in my entire body. So one of the things that happens is when you're on the plane for 13 hours, you don't get enough movement, you don't get enough exercise, and it's not the muscle and the tendon, it's really the chi. And so by working with my fingers and scraping on the upper arm, that helps a lot. The next thing I do when I go to the bathroom, I would just stand on my toes, just kind of up and down, up and down, up and down on my toes. That helps a lot too. So if you ask me, what is that one thing I should do? Well, when you get up in the morning, you do a little bit of exercise by staying on your toes. And then maybe before you go to sleep, you massage your fingers and you do some scraping. Maybe that's that you want to do minimum, you can do that. And then throughout the day, you learn to sit properly, open your shoulder, relax. Okay, so that would be what I call minimum. All right. Okay, so now we come to this part, and which is our fingers. Again, our fingers. So we're gonna lock our elbow. I love this part because this is what I used to teach as an engineering professor. Right. So I used to teach a lower division class, and where all the non-engineering students would come, and I teach action equal to reaction. So this is action equal to reaction. So first you boom like this, you send energy out, that's yang. And then the reaction is yin, right? So this is very engineering. So again, you sit properly, open your shoulder, lean back, relax, and then you point all 10 fingers in towards the front. You lock your elbows so the energy can bounce back and forth. Now you roll up your four fingers, you hold down the four fingers with your thumb, you wind up the four fingers, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Now this exercise might be something that you want to do on a regular basis as well, because when we use our fingers, especially this guy, this is the mouse, we develop carpal tunnel. And so this exercise is very good for your fingers and your carpal tunnel, right? And that's true if you do a lot of work with computer. That's even true if you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, right? Working as a kitchen staff, for example. Um, now the next exercise that we do is also very similar, and it moves up to the shoulder. So if you have frozen shoulder, this would be a good one. So first we open the shoulder, stretch, lean back, and then relax. Now we take our fingers, we put the thumb and the middle fingers together, and then we stretch out the other three. That's called the lotus hand. Then we take the lotus hand, we put it in front, and once again we open. And if you can, you push your hip forward, lean back the upper part of the body. Now, back of the hand facing the camera. Get ready. 1, back of the hand facing the camera. It's important that you twist the hand like this. Okay, now come back, sit up straight, open your shoulder. Lotus hand, get ready. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. Okay, so this is very good if you have frozen shoulder. All right, okay. All right, now we get to we travel up to the top of the head. So one of the things that happens is that when you are looking down all the time with your iPhone or your computer, is that again, I go back to saying that how you use a muscle here, and that blocks the chi, right? Blocks the chi, and so you develop a lot of pain in the back, and you, even with headache. And the other thing that happens is that if you have high blood pressure, one of the reasons that you have high blood pressure is you're not getting enough oxygen, and that tells the body to pump up your heart to provide more oxygen. But then if you take high blood pressure medicine, then you're definitely not getting enough oxygen, and then you develop a lot of pain in your back. So one of the things that I want to show you is how to massage, and we do that by massaging these energy points that many of them is named after wind. Wind is nerve. Okay, so we first take a thumb, you glide that down until you find this cavity. So you sit up straight, you don't look down, look straight ahead, and you just kind of massage that cavity. Now this is again called the pan of chi. Okay, massage. And now you take your thumb and you push down and then relax. Okay, now you take your right hand, you put that on the left side, you push down, you grab the left side of the neck, and then you kind of open it up like this. And then same thing on the other side, you push down with the four fingers, you grab the right side, and you pull it towards the left. Now, there's a lot of understanding now about how to activate your parasympathetic nerve by focusing on the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve actually starts right here. And so you lift up your left ear. There's an energy point here, and it's called there's a word that is very interesting that's basically like blocking of the chi. And so you kind of massage around, and then massage, and then grab it and go around, and then massage and grab it and go around. And then the other side, massage, and then make it around, massage, and then pull it over, and then massage and pull it over. Now, through the top of the ear, there's another energy point here, and you just pull down along the bone, and then same thing on the other side, and then pull down along the bone. Now come back, use your thumb, massage the corner of the ear, and then move towards the Pana Chi and stop in the middle. Now you're on top of the bone. There's actually a small cavity there, and just kind of massage that. Okay, now this will improve the quality of your sleep. Okay, you feel a lot of stress there. And now you come back to this pound of chi, and you just kind of massage, like just squeeze it together. The middle, there's another set of energy point, and then here there's another set of energy point. Now you take this part of the thumb and you massage the right side, and then you massage the left side, right? And that's what you do, okay? Just kind of clear that, all right? But what really helps is that you don't do this, right? So you learn to sit, and we call this the one pillar supporting the sky. So you sit with your spine straight, lean back, relax, open your shoulder, relax, lean back the forehead, tuck in the chin. So this is what the teacher said is the most important Qigong exercise you can do. It's not something magical. It's just sitting as if you're the pillar supporting the sky, meaning that you're now the center of an unbound universe, and your spine is where all the energy will flow. Okay, very simple. All right, so now let's learn to massage the left side of the neck as well as the shoulder. Okay, now we look straight ahead, we turn the head to the right, we look down, and then now you see this tendon. Take the index finger and just kind of scrape that. Come back, look up, and then massage this part, right? So you know where this is, what this is. This is your lymphatic system, your lymph node. And then now I want you to learn to massage your shoulders. So you push down, there's a cavity here, and massage. Now you go back slightly, right below the bone, there's another point. Around, there's another one. Around, there's another one. In front, there's one. Okay? So we always massage these cavities. So someone mentioned the word, I just noticed, fascia. Okay? So when you go to someone who focus on fascia massage, they're massaging the connective tissue, and that's where these cavities are. Okay, and all right. Now continue. Look straight ahead. Turn the head to the left. Look down. Scrape this tendon. Come back. Look up. Scrape this area. Massage the top of the shoulder. Right behind, on the side, a little further out, in front, and then massage. All right. Okay. Now I want to show you how to massage your face. Okay, massage your face. All right, so come back to your healing hand. Put that together. So there's a lot of scientific exploration for what is called a healing hand. Turns out that what they put out is infrared energy. Okay, so now you want to put that hand in front of your eye. Okay, forming an empty hand, so not touching an eyeball, just a cavity. Now you take your right hand, you form a cavity in front of your eye. You open your eye, and if you see light, you move around until you don't see light. Okay? Now get ready. And then put that in front of your eye. Usually you don't feel very much the first time, but then the second time you will feel it because the eye is adjusting to the infrared. Now make sure you don't press down. All right? As engineering professor, I will tell you that radiations, right? Infrared transfer by radiation. So you actually need a space. Okay, one more time. Put that in front of your eye. Now, massage your forehead, massage on the side of your nose, massage in between your nose and your upper lip, massage your chin. Come back, massage the side of your face. Put the center of your palm on top of your temple, massage. Use two fingers, massage in between your eyebrow. Now you feel a lot of stress. And then use two fingers, put that above your eyebrow. And then on the corner of your eyebrow. Massage now your forehead. Move up and just remind yourself that this is the part of the brain that is responsible for my cognitive function. Back of the head, this is the part that is responsible for my memory. And then the lower part, this is the part that is responsible for my motor functions. Now, as you go down, you want to say to yourself, thank you very much for being my partner, and massage the top of the ear. Okay? Massage your face like that. All right? Now we're going to massage the eyes. So there's some very important 3 energy points on the eyebrow, 3 below. we take our index finger, put that in the beginning of the eyebrow, push it down, put that in between, and then just kind of massage the eyebrow. And then use the thumb, put that at the corner of the eye, right below the eye back, all the way to the tail. The other side. Now we're going to do some eye yoga, right? So take an index finger, put that in the corner of the eye, sit up straight, close your eye. Now rotate your eye upward, rotate your eye to the right, rotate your eyes down, rotate your eyes to the left. Now bring it back up. We're going to go clockwise. Up, right, down, left. Up, right, down, left. Up, right, down, left. Come back to up. We're going to do counterclockwise. Left, down, right, up. Left, down, right, up. Left, down, right, up. Open your eyes. Okay. Very bright. This energy point is called bright eye. Now massage the nose all the way down to the chin. And then use the index fingers and put some pressure right below the eye bag. And then glide along the side of the nose. You feel the bone. And right below the bone, press it, push up, and then breathe. Okay? Now massage in between. Massage here. Okay, we're running out of time. So quickly massage the ear. Top of the ear, fingers in the side. Middle, and then below. Tip, edge, ear loop. Take the index fingers, massage outside the ear, go up and down. Massage the back of the ear. Massage the back of the ear. And then put the palm, close your ear, and then go 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Now, I want to spend time on the Qigong exercise called Yi Jin Jing. And then I want to make sure that we have enough time to meditate on the Qi. Okay, meditate on the Qi by first collecting the Qi onto our element, which is what we call the Dantian, and then running the Qi, separating to yin and yang, and runs through our body. So I want to do that. And so that means that I need to take out something. And so today I'm just going to focus on tapping what we call the longevity points. So there are 8 of them. These are the places that are closest to your energy system. They also happen to be the warmest part of your body. The first one is your armpit. So armpit is where the heart meridian ends and enters in your body. And so there's a very important muscle here that we want to retain. And so we're going to stretch that by taking our elbow, put that on top of the head. Sit up straight, pinching the right side of the ear, turn the head to the right, bring out our right hand, form empty hand, put that on the left side, listen with your left ear. So we're playing an instrument, right? We're listening to as we go. Get ready, go. Continue. And then now the other side. Look straight ahead, pinch the upper part of the left ear, turn your head to the left hand, empty hand, right ear, get ready, go. Continue. Okay, now that's 1 and 2, 3 and 4 on the upper body is right here. So lock your elbow, take your right hand, form empty hand, wrap it around so the fingers on top and the palm is on the side. You lift up your hand, turn your head to the right, listen with the left ear, get ready, go. Continue. Okay, the other side. Lock your elbow. Left hand, right ear. Get ready. Go. Continue. Okay, so I talk about sitting properly, forming the one pillar supporting the sky posture is actually the most simple but most basic chi exercise you can do. Actually, I left out a minor thing that we do, which is that you don't just stretch your spine, lean back, and relax. You actually rotate your hip forward and put some pressure right here. Now, this is where the kidneys are, so you can imagine how important that is. And so there are a couple of ways you can do that. One is that you stretch and then you lean forward first. And then as you lean back, you hold your hip in place and you feel the pressure on the two sides. And then you relax. And every once in a while, you rotate your hip forward and lean back, putting pressures right here. Okay? All right. So now I'll show you how to massage those 2 points. If you cannot go to sleep, it's because you're stuck in the fight or flight. And when you're stuck on the fight or flight, it means that your adrenal gland is still very active. And so you learn to massage these 2 points. And so if this is the thing that you do, the first thing you do, you first put your hands together because you're healing yourself. And then you put your hands like this, where the fingers touches is where, and you can either use your palm, but sometimes we cannot reach that far back. And so we just use the fist. That will work too. Okay. So just kind of relax this area. This is where the adrenal glands are. All right. Okay. All right. So now we have the 4 remaining longevity cavity. So we loosening up a knee, we look straight ahead. We put 4 fingers in the back, thumbs on the side. Get ready. Go. Continue. Okay, and then finally, this is the area that is very much overlooked. This is your source of life, not just for the next generation. This is your body needs reproduction, right? Cells cannot last more than 200 days. So you're not just reproducing for the next generation, you are the next generation. So this area is actually very important. This is the source of life. This is where all your reproductive organs are, which you continue to use. This is the difference between Eastern and Western medicine. We think that, oh, when we get to a certain age, we don't use it anymore. No, not true. All right, so now we're going to tap now. The way to tap is that you form a fist and you just kind of fit that in here. Okay, get ready, go. Okay, so now you're ready to do the Yi Jin Jing. Now, Yi Jin Jing means YJJ. Okay, that's how I usually just say it. Yi means the exchange or the renewal. The second one, Yi Jing. Jing means translate into tendon. Actually, not true. It should translate into connected tissue. So again, connected tissue is the channel, it's a communication channel, right? I remember I talked about the connected tissue, the membrane, right? It is actually our first organ, right? The egg meets the sperm, a whole bunch of them, not just one. She communicate with the very sperm. She makes the consumer choice and say, no, you, no, not you. That's all through the membrane. That hasn't stopped. That still is a communication channel. All right. So when I say Yi Jin Jing, it's actually the last word. It just means the practice of renewing our connective tissue. So you will see that it works on mostly the yang meridians. Okay, mostly the yang meridian by promoting yang energy. All right. Now, so we do that by focusing on all these important energy points. The one that we want to focus now is on the bottom of our feet, which we didn't do today. And it's called the gushing spring. It reminds you that this whole point is about letting your body being that block conduit between the energies in the universe, both in the earth and in the heaven. Okay? So I talk about how perhaps what we're doing is we're outgrowing our evolution. Another way to say it is that perhaps we're putting too much emphasis on the human part and not enough understanding on the being part. To be healthy is not just about being human and trying to think that you can overcome all adversities by using a scalpel or a chemical, but by understanding that you have to be one with the universe. Being is perhaps more important than being a human, all right? So I want to be with the universe by really touching the ground. Then I want to rotate the toes inward and then loosening up the knee by activating what is now called the second heart. So this muscle is actually quite important. There's a great study that says people who suffer from dementia, this is the first part that goes out, is that they lose the calf. That's why we promote walking and going up and down the stairs by doing this. Okay, now you come to the shoulder. The shoulder, again, has a name called the well on the shoulder. So you need to open that shoulder, relax, in order to put the well on top of the spring. Now you lean back the forehead, you tuck in the chin. So this energy point is called 100 meets. We are promoting yang energy, which means that we're collecting them all in our spine and delivering to this energy point. Okay. The next one is called the labor, the chamber of labor. So this is the healing hand. So we point that down, open our shoulder. We focus on the breath and just say to yourself, I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. And then you use that space after you breathe out where you're completely relaxed. Then you focus on the center of your palm, mind, body together, and you push, setting a shock wave through your central nerve system. Get ready? Focusing on your breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Go. And then now, going from the fight or flight back to the rest and digest. And you do that by focusing entirely on your breath, focusing on the present, and say to yourself, I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. Another one. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. Okay? Now, one of the ways that you know that you are actually returning to the fight or flight, returning from the fight or flight to the rest and digest, maintaining that balance, is when you know that you have saliva. When you're in fight or flight, first thing it does, turn off your saliva. You come back to the rest and digest, saliva. So doctor says, oh, you need to drink lots of water. They never tell you, oh, in addition to hydration, perhaps you should learn how to do self-hydrating. Find ways of creating saliva. Saliva comes from the inside of the tongue, controlled only by your brain. Okay, now second time, go. Back to the breath. One last time. Go. Back to the breath. Now the second one is called pointing. So I want you to focus on your thumb, point to your hip, raise your hand, forming the semicircle energy loop. Take your 4 fingers, roll it up. Imagine hanging 2 buckets of water on your thumb, and you lift up the thumb by stretching the thumb, activating the large intestine meridian, helping you to remove toxins from your body. And then relax without lowering your hand. Back to your breath. Second time, back to our breath. One last time. And then this time, lower your hand, completely relax, and back to your breath. The next one is called beginner's mind. This is what the babies do. Starting with inside the mother's womb is that they hold the fists together. So you take your thumb, you can go across, you wrap it with your forefingers, you lift it up, and you squeeze, generating yang energy. And then relax without holding your hand. Second time. And then relax once again, focusing on your breath. And then very last time. And this time, lower your hand and relax. Next one, we put our fists together in front of your belly button. We take a deep breath. And then relax. Now we take our elbow, put the elbows together, focus on the back. The back has 4 energy channels that comes up, including the middle one, all yang energy. Now what you want to do is you want to stretch the back as hard as you can and then relax. Now when they do cupping, they're doing exactly the same thing. It's opening up those channels. Second time, making sure that your fist is in front of your nose. You put your elbows together and then you go stretch and then relax. One last time and then relax. Next one called fists above the head. You bring your fist above the head, you open your shoulder, you open your fist, and then you roll your fist very mindfully, lock it with your thumb, and then now you're just going to squeeze, fighting with your heart. So this is very cardio. So you notice this one exercise combines all 4 modality: stretching, cardio, muscle, and also balance. Second time, open your shoulders, squeeze as hard as you can, right? Just like the nurse tells you before she draws blood. Create more pressure on your heart. One last time, open the shoulders, squeeze as hard as you can, and then relax. After 2 breaths, the next one is called stabbing the shoulder. So you grab 2 daggers, you open your shoulder, you point the dagger on your shoulder. Now the shoulder and then the neck is a meridian called the bladder, gallbladder, sorry. And it has to do with nerve. And so this clear the channel to allow more flow into your head. And so you open your shoulder, you point the dagger on your shoulder and you stab, right? Now, make sure you don't look down, you look straight ahead. And then you feel the tightness in your neck and then you go, relax. Second time, stab. And then relax. One last time, stab. And then relax. The next one called a cross. Now make sure you're pushing, you're not punching. Okay, and this is about stretching the upper part of our arm called triple warmer. So you sit up, you stand up, looking straight ahead. Make sure your knee is loose, and you feel the trees on both sides. All right, go ahead. Rotate your wrists. Take a deep breath. Hold your breath. Form a fist and push. Relax. The word bang means avalanche. Push until you form an avalanche. Second time, lift up your hand. Rotate your wrists. Roll your fist, take a deep breath, hold your breath, and push. One last time. This part is so important that we do it twice. We do what's called a front hanging. So you need to lock your arm, right? As if you're hanging some clothes. You see the tree in front of you. You rotate your wrist. You take a deep breath. You hold your breath. You form your fist and you push until you push down the tree. Second time. One last time. Focusing on your breath. Make sure you maintain that harmony. Okay, now we do pull up. So you first bring up your hand, you look straight up. You see the bar, you grab the bar. You focus on the bar as you bring your body up. So this is the muscle part. And then relax, especially this muscle. Second time. Relax. One last time. And then relax. Next one we continue, also muscle, this part. And it's called opening the bow, as in bow and arrow. I used to call this ripping the yellow page, but nobody knows what a yellow page is. So you grab the bow and you kind of open the bow and then relax. Second time. And then relax. One last time. And then relax. Now, you collect all your saliva. If you don't have any saliva, you're doing it wrong. Because when I asked you to focus on your breath, you didn't. You were wandering around. That's why your saliva gland is not reactivated. You collect all your saliva and you swallow all the way down to here. Now, the next one is very important. It's actually from the calf all the way up to the adrenal gland, through your spine to your head. It's actually a very classic yoga move, which is to dip down your head. But first you're going to do is you're going to stand up straight, feel the back of your where the kidneys, and then back of the hand touching, and then you lower your body. Okay, now make sure your knee is not locked. Okay, all the way down, dip your head. Now you're going to squeeze the fist and then come back of the hand touching. Second time. And then one last time. Now the next set of moves, it has to be continuous. So you flip, you focus on the center of your palm, you take a deep breath in, and then you take a deep breath out, empty hand. Take a deep breath in, pointing the palm forward, lowering your knees. See that big rock in front of you? Push. Then you take a deep breath in, and then you take a deep breath out. Now you walk slowly and mindfully back to your sitting position, first focusing on the bottom of your feet. Now focus on the center of your hand as you move the seat, and then focus on your butt as you sit down. We come back to our body. First, we're going to focus on our legs. We make sure that we sit properly. Try not to use any muscle. And if you need to, you put some blankets and pillows so you're not using any muscle. If you sit on the edge of the chair, you make sure that the bottom of your feet is right below the knee so you're not dangling them or you're not putting pressure on them. Next, you come to your hand. You relax your hand. Okay, try not to lift it up. If you could, try not to use any hand gesture. Just kind of relax. Put that on your knee, put that on your thigh, put that on your calf, somewhere. Then you stretch your spine, lean back, relax. If you could, rotate the hip forward. Then you come to your shoulder, you open your shoulder, relax. Lean back the forehead, tuck in the chin. Close your eye, imagine your eyelids are like drapes. You just lower your drape without shutting your eye. And then you take the tip of the tongue and you put that behind your teeth where the teeth meets the roof of your mouth. that would activate your salivary gland. Now you feel the body, you feel all the tingling and energy bouncing back and forth in your body. We want to focus, collect all that energies into our abdomen, what we call the Dan Ten, the field of fire. We do that by first recognizing that we breathe in. I know I'm breathing in. And feel that you're breathing out. I know I'm breathing out. Now you focus on your belly button. More accurately, you focus on about 1 inch below the belly button, called the Sea of Qi. The Chinese believe that this is where you actually receive energy from your mom when you're inside her womb. The belly button is just where you receive material. This is where you where you receive material. This is where you receive energy. So you focus on that. When you know that you're breathing in, you relax the stomach as if you're taking the Sea of Qi and just bring it forward. And then as you breathe out, imagine you're taking the Sea of Qi and bring it all the way back to the spine. The bottom of the spine, right on the other side, is called the gate of life. Breathing in, opening the stomach. Breathing out, bringing it back to the stomach. So now you're collecting all the energy that you activate, all the yang, particularly the yang energy. But more importantly is the balance between the yin and the yang. So half yin, half yang, and collect it all into your stomach. Breathing in, open stomach, breathing out. Okay, so let's sit for 3 minutes. Okay, so we'll do another 3 minutes of Qi meditation. And so after we do the Yi Jin Jing, we generate a lot of life energy in us. We now collect it all into this one part that we call dantian. And now what we're going to do is we're going to circulate the energies in the body, first going up on the governing vessel. That's where all the yang energy will go up. And so what you find is that as you practice this qi practice, you actually are creating the harmony, the balance between the yin and yang. And one of the things that shows up is something called the heart rate variability. That when you breathe in, you enter into the yang, your heart rate goes up because you're actually in an energetic mode. That's the part of your life that you're healing yourself. You're actually creating natural steroid that would reduce inflammation, right? So this is what's happening now in that the Western scientists are discovering, once again, cortisol, and they said the people who are suffering from this autonomous disorder is because they have too much cortisol. So let's try to reduce the cortisol. No, 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 no. You need cortisol to heal. The problem is not that you have too much. The problem is that because you're having too much, you create resistance to it. And so you end up injecting external steroid as opposed to using your own. And so it's really about making sure that you create enough steroid so you can heal yourself, but then at the same time, as soon as you've done that, you go back into the cave, you go back into the safety of your cave, you go back into the rest and digest and re-establish that sensitivity. All right. So the scientists are now able to measure that in terms of what's called HRV, heart rate variability. That when you enter into the flight and you're healing yourself, the heart rate goes up because your body thinks that you're in danger. So it needs to heal itself as you go. Turn off all the other functions. And then when you breathe out, the heart rate goes down. And the difference is called heart rate variability. And it's been known to reverse dementia, reverse a lot of the autoimmune skin problem, right? You know, it's known to normalize your blood pressure. It's known to do a lot, right? So the next thing we do is after we collect all that qi is that we cycle it. And so now we focus on the bottom of the spine, the energy point that I call the gate of life. As you breathe in, you move up the spine until you get to the top of the head. Now the top of the head is called 100 meat. And so a lot of people who practice technique, they immediately come back down. And so that's a misunderstanding of what qi is. Qi is the energy that is in the universe. And that energy point called 100 meat is where you collect your internal energy. And you actually need to continue. And so when you get to the top of the head, don't stop. Go as far up as you can until your body starts breathing out again, breathing out, and then you come back, you lean back, you relax. You breathe in, stretch slowly, going from the bottom of your spine, the gate of life, to the top of the head, underneath, and you go as far up as you can. And then you come back, lean back, and relax, okay? So we also call this the wandering dragon chasing the pearl, all right? So let's sit for 3 minutes, and then I will tell you a joke. You gotta laugh, okay? Open to laughter. Okay. All right. So we're over time, and a lot of you had probably already left. But anyway, I want to thank Martha for being with me. I think we started probably in the beginning of the pandemic, which would have to be early part of 2000 when I started to move everything online. And so Martha has been with me, and I'm very grateful to her because she's always here. She's always very helpful, answering questions, and also pointing, more importantly, pointing to all the other places where you can get additional help. Places like YouTube, Facebook, Insight. Well, in addition to Insight Timer, we have a group, Insight Timer, called Mindfulness Fellowship, but also Patreon. And so I'm very grateful to her. But then it reminds me of a story. I don't know how real it is. It's probably based on facts, but exaggerated. So the story was that once upon a time, there was a professor at UC Berkeley, where I went to school, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize. And so the chancellor was very excited. He went to the professor's office and says, "What can I get you? What can I get you? We're so grateful for everything you have done for these institutions." And the professor looked at him and says, "I don't need anything else. Look at me." I said, "I have this corner office looking down into the campus. I have my own table at the faculty club for lunch. I have everything. I have a great laboratory, fully equipped. I have some of the best students. I don't need anything." And the chancellor said, "No, no, 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 no. We have to give you something." He said, "How about we give you a parking space?" Oh, he said, that I can have." He says, "It's really hard to find parking in Berkeley." And then the chancellor says, "Oh, yeah, it's good. Oh, how about I give you a car? How about I give you a chauffeur?" And the professor says, "Well, that's a good idea." So the professor has his own car, has his own parking space, has even his own chauffeur. And the chauffeur takes him to all the other universities where he gives talk. And after about 18 months or so, one day they were driving, and the chauffeur turns around and says, "Professor," he says, "I've been with you now for almost 2 years, year and a half to be exact, but I listened to many of your talks. And I noticed that you always say the same thing. Your lectures are exactly the same from one class to another." And the professor said, "Yeah, but that's what people want to hear." He says, "I bet I can do it." And the professor says, "Okay, why don't you do it?" So they come to the place where the professor gives a talk, and they exchange clothes. The professor sits in the audience, and the chauffeur went up to the podium and started giving the talk, exactly the way that the professor had always been giving. And everybody clapped. "That was a great one. That was amazing. Nobel Prize. What do you want?" And then, of course, someone asked the question. And the chauffeur says, "That is a stupid question." He said, "Even my chauffeur can answer it." So thank you for being my chauffeur, Martha. Someday you can sit here. If you want, you can sit here today. All right. A great laugh. Okay? A great laugh. However dark you might think it is, you can get past this. All you have to remember is a great laugh. All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you on next week. Be good, be happy, and be peaceful.